Hey guys, Suriyashi here. The last episode ended with our protagonist defeating the out-of-control AI that had started commanding machines to wipe out humanity. And thus, he overcame another challenge in the dream world. This episode begins with the people at Great Glory Company gossiping about the rumor that Mr. Lawrence suddenly fell into a coma out of nowhere. Someone asks, "Mr. Lawrence, who's that?" And the first person replies, "He's the fiancé of the marketing department director." "Oh, the old guy engaged to Sabrina? Yeah, that's him." Then we see a pile of papers and someone typing frantically. It's none other than Sabrina herself, working hard as always. She glances to the side and sees something she should have gotten rid of a long time ago, the tomato plant. She then instructs her assistant to get rid of it. The assistant asks, "What? Why? Ms. Luo used to care a lot about this plant. The first thing she does every morning in her office is water it. When she has some free time, she tends to it and takes care of the leaves. Now she suddenly wants to get rid of it?" Sabrina sees the woman staring at the plant and asks if she has any doubts. The woman says no, and that she will get rid of the plant right away. Then the scene changes to the already open and operating 2003 noodle restaurant. Apparently, it was the restaurant's opening day, and there were a lot of people there. Everyone seemed to be enjoying the food. Even Sandy is there. She asks Howard why he doesn't sell noodles for delivery too. There are many business people in the area, and most of them are either too busy or too lazy to go out for lunch. She's sure his revenue would increase a lot if he offered delivery. Howard thinks it's a good idea. Then Sandy tells him she has news. Ms. Luo's fiancé is in critical condition. Later that night, at the Great Glory Company building, someone presses the elevator button. It's Sabrina, working late as usual. The elevator opens, and she sees someone she didn't expect, Howard, saying he came to make a noodle delivery. Sabrina enters the elevator, stands next to him and says, "All right then." The two stand there in uncomfortable silence for a few seconds, until Howard says he heard Lawrence is in a coma. Sabrina is surprised that the gossip reached him. Howard asks if her father will still force her to marry the old man now that he's in critical condition. Sabrina says probably not, and Howard congratulates her on regaining her freedom. She says she can now live her life as she pleases, date whoever she wants, and marry like a normal person. The protagonist asks if she has found the right guy yet, and she says no. Then he bluntly asks, "How about me?" Sabrina is taken aback. He asks if she would give him a chance to be that guy, but she remains silent, just looking at him. After a few more seconds of discomfort, she smiles. Howard thinks it's a good sign, and that she'll accept, but she says no, which surprises him. Then he finally tells her that he had a dream where they went through many things together. The city was deserted, and they fought to survive together. Sabrina is shocked to learn that he had the same dream as her. Howard thinks that if he had told her earlier, none of this would have happened. Sabrina herself asks why he didn't tell her before. He responds that he thought it was just a dream, and didn't dare tell her because he didn't want to humiliate himself. He asks if she remembers what she said to him when they first met in the dream. For those who don't remember, she immediately told him not to try anything with her because he wasn't her type. He says she was arrogant with him, and he hasn't forgotten her words. Sabrina sighs and says he really has low self-esteem. He admits it, saying he really has low self-esteem. But even after the dream, when he noticed the slightest signs that she might remember it, he didn't dare say anything. "Do you know why?" he asks. Then he asks if she remembers the last day of the game, him sitting in the wheelchair asking if she ever loved him at any moment. Her answer was no. At that moment, he was about to die, and she said she never loved him. What did she expect him to do? Kneel to her and lick her feet in the real world? Sabrina gets angry and asks if he ever said he loved her. Then she tells him to say from the bottom of his heart what he feels for her. To him, was she just a sexual partner? Did he only want a quick fling? Sabrina is already in tears, yelling at him, asking why she should love him, why she should take the initiative to go after him. "Who do you think you are?" she asks, calling him names and saying that if he dies, she won't care at all, just like she said the other time when he died in the dream. Finally, Howard understands Sabrina's feelings for him. He hugs her tightly and apologizes, but she tells him to take his hands off her while trying to push him away. Howard continues to hold her tightly, repeating "I'm sorry" several times. The elevator door opens, and two security guards are about to enter when they see Howard and Sabrina in an emotional embrace. They stand there, unsure of what to do. A few minutes later, the protag is walking home after the incident, while the security guards wonder if that guy is really getting it on with that hot woman. Kitty is apparently waiting for Howard outside. She says she's impressed this time. He finally took action regarding Sabrina. It wasn't bad, although a bit risky, but to be with a woman like her, you have to take risks. Howard says nothing, looking thoughtful. Kitty asks if he gave her a passionate soap opera kiss and made her float, then made her accept being his girlfriend. Howard stops walking everything, takes a deep breath, and says no. She said she didn't want to see him anymore and told him to leave. And that's how the chapter ends, my friends. The next chapter begins with the announcement of another edition of Korea's Got Talent. The judges are there, just waiting for the next contestant. The next contestant is ready. It's her turn. Sunny. She seems much more confident than usual. She's ready to put on a show. Her coach says it's time for her to show the judges how she really sings. And Sunny, without losing focus, simply says, okay. The coach is satisfied because Sunny has suddenly become confident. Then she starts her performance. There's something different about her. Her stage presence has changed. She seems more sensual and is even singing better, competing against other professional singers. It seems that believing in yourself really makes a difference. Before, she was saying she might be eliminated in the first phase, but she ended up qualifying for the finals. This change in Sunny's attitude really caught people's attention. Her popularity soared after participating in The Voice Korea. People were really enjoying her now. Meanwhile, at the 2003 noodle restaurant, everything was going very well. The restaurant was already registered on Uber Eats and DoorDash and had deliveries going out like crazy, not to mention the customers who came to eat there and frequently returned because the food was so good. Howard was working harder than ever. Even Kitty noticed this and asked her cousin why he didn't take a break. But he said no, adults need to prioritize making money. But the truth is, he didn't want to stop because he knew he would think about Sabrina. Then he would think about Sharon, and then about Sunny. He couldn't stand still. Kitty, being very perceptive, asks if he's sure he doesn't want to talk to Sabrina, but Howard, as always, says nothing. The girl asks if he's thinking of going after Sharon, even though she dumped him. Howard just sighs deeply. The girl says that maybe it's not so bad because, in the end, his relationships with both of them didn't work out. He had many obstacles to being with them. The first was the fact that both were rich and he was a broke guy who couldn't buy anything to please them. The second obstacle was their relatives, who wouldn't want a poor guy like him around them. Those were just the first problems he would have to deal with. In the long run, there would be many more things. These things could definitely torture him to the point of exhaustion and make him question his own life. Kitty then says that life is a painful journey. When we're not suffering, we're on the path to suffering. Wow, the girl is philosophical. Howard gives her a light smack on the head and says she's just a kid trying to be a relationship coach, and the girl says it's not her fault if he's so dumb. At that moment, her phone goes off. Kitty reads the message and immediately wants to show Howard, but he tells her that's enough chit-chat to let him work in peace. But she insists he look at something. She shows him a news article from a gossip site saying that Sunny mentioned in an interview that she has a crush on someone, and that person is... Kitty plays the interview video while Howard hopes she won't do what he's thinking. And then we see Sunny after her performance on Korea's Got Talent. The reporter says that Sunny's performance in the finals of Korea's Got Talent shocked the audience, and the fans were in a frenzy during her presentation. She then asks Sunny what she thinks about this. Sunny makes the classic heart with her fingers and thanks all the fans for their love and support, saying it's what gives her strength. The host then mentions that Sunny was invited to star in a movie, and her co-star is a newly discovered talent. She asks if there's any chance something might happen between them during the filming. Sunny doesn't like the question, and Kitty says that there won't be any chemistry between them, plus idols falling in love is suicide. So Sunny responds that no, nothing will happen between them. Kitty says, see? Sunny adds that this guy isn't her type. The reporter takes the opportunity to ask if Sunny can then tell them what her type is, as many fans are probably curious. Sunny says that her type is an old-fashioned guy who likes to help and teach people, is very kind and patient, doesn't usually say sweet words to please, but always protects her in dangerous situations. The reporter comments that this was very specific and asks if Sunny was referring to someone special. Sunny, a bit embarrassed, says yes, she already has a crush on someone. His name is... Her trainer realizes the mess Sunny is about to create. Even Kitty says she's crazy and that what she's doing could tank her popularity, but the trainer manages to interrupt in time to stop Sunny from saying her crush's name. Even Howard is relieved. His situation with the two women is already complicated enough without Sunny naming him on television. So guys, some time passes and we see a cigarette being lit. And who would have thought Howard is smoking? It seems that working too much has taken its toll. Kitty says he doesn't even like to smoke, right? And he just says, The girl says that maybe what Sunny did, deliberately talking about her crush and then being interrupted, was staged to create great height. The protag takes another drag on his cancer stick and lets out another meh. He then tells his cousin it's time for her to leave because he needs to work, but the girl pretends not to hear and asks about Sabrina. Howard puts out the cigarette and takes a deep breath. Kitty says he needs to clear things up with her once and for all. If he can't accept her, then he needs to clarify that to her. But if he doesn't want to lose her once and for all, then he needs to go to her. If he's a man, he needs to do something. The girl thinks to herself that things can't always be solved with sweet words. Sometimes you have to be direct. She then asks if he's waiting for Sabrina to take the initiative to come after him. Howard starts cleaning the table with a cloth, but isn't really paying attention to it. Kitty continues, saying that women like Sabrina are very passive, with too much pride to chase after a man. This last part makes Howard even angrier. He thinks about what Sonny said in the interview and remembers what Sabrina told him. The whole situation is very complicated. Kitty says that women are like that. Before getting into a relationship, they always imagine something wonderful, but they only wake up after being disappointed over and over again by a man. Howard turns to the girl and asks if that means it's always the man's fault, and the women are always victims. That doesn't seem fair. Kitty doesn't understand what he meant, but he continues, saying she's a woman, so of course she'll side with the women. Women always blame men for everything. When a couple breaks up, no matter what happened between them, it's always the man's fault. In a relationship, when a woman gets hurt, the man is a monster who deserves to die. He says this, remembering his first relationship. Then he asks Kitty if she thinks only women get hurt and men don't. Apparently, all she can think about is what the man did to hurt her. But has she ever stopped to think about how her behavior might hurt the man she's with? Men not only can't express their pain and hurt as openly as women, but that doesn't mean they don't get sad. In the end, we're all human. Everyone has their joys and sorrows in life. Howard's phone starts to ring. He answers, and a female voice says that Sabrina is outside the building, surrounded by some guys who are forcing her to do something. He needs to stop them quickly. We see that outside, there really are some guys who surrounded Sabrina and led her to an alley. One guy says that this babe here seems drunk, which is excellent. They're going to take her for a ride. Sabrina tries to tell them to leave, but a strong wave of nausea almost makes her vomit. The other guy says she shouldn't be so cold. They're going to be good friends, and then grabs her and starts forcing her towards a parked car. The guy manages to throw her into the van, and the other guy speeds off. The two look at each other smiling. They've hit the jackpot. This is one of the most beautiful women they've ever seen. But at that moment, a motorcycle suddenly stops in front of their car, scaring the guys into slamming on the brakes. Someone gets off the motorcycle, and of course, it's Howard, very pissed off. The two guys are also pissed. They're not going to let this skinny guy ruin their fun. But then we see that not only did the skinny guy ruin their fun, but he also beat the crap out of them to the point of leaving them unconscious. Their van is left abandoned in the middle of the street with the door open. Sometime later, Howard is taking Sabrina home safely, but she still seems a bit drunk. He asks how much she drank, but she tells him not to touch her and tries to get away from him. She leans against the wall and seems like she's going to throw up, but then answers that she didn't drink much, not enough to forget a certain person. Howard thinks, oh boy. He takes her hand and says he's going to take her home, but she pulls her hand away and tells him to leave her alone. Then she walks away. Howard sighs, and then says that he didn't go after her these past few days because he was waiting for both of them to calm down and think things through. But the woman is about to throw up again. Howard takes a deep breath and then says she's right. He doesn't feel confident around her because he doesn't deserve her in the end. Sabrina asks why he's saying this to her. Doesn't he already have a girlfriend? And then we see that Sabrina heard the rumors when the protagonist was dating Sharon. She says it's no wonder he stayed away from her. In the end, that was the problem. Howard gets closer to her and says he broke up with Sharon. This surprises Sabrina. She didn't expect that, but Sabrina remains cautious, saying that means he got dumped, and that's why he came to her. Howard remembers Kitty telling him that women take ex-girlfriends very seriously. It's common for them to wonder how many ex-girlfriends the guy had. Does he love me more than he loved his ex? If these questions aren't answered correctly, there will be a taboo in the relationship, or they might even break up. And why do women care so much about the past? Well, my silly boy, girls want to monopolize their boyfriends. I like him so much and hope he likes only me. Howard then makes sure to tell Sabrina that he and Sharon broke up a long time ago, and to be honest, they were together for a very short time. The protagonist thinks to himself that it was his pride that made him go after Sharon, but now he realizes that if she wants to leave him, then let her go. Sabrina asks if he was the one who proposed to her, but he says it was she who chased him. Sabrina says she heard she's pretty hot, and Howard says that, to be honest, he doesn't know what she saw in him. Maybe she just wanted to end her loneliness. The truth truth is, he's afraid that Sabrina might feel the same way. Afraid that she will soon get bored and leave him as soon as they start being together. He's afraid he won't be able to get through it. Sabrina gives him a sideways glance, a bit embarrassed, and asks who said she wants to be with him. But the protag doesn't want to know. He grabs her shoulder and pulls her close. She puts her hand on his chest to push away and asks what he's doing. Howard says it's too late. He's already decided she's going to be his girlfriend, whether she likes it or not, and says he'll never forget the days they spent together in the dream. So guys, he grabs her chin and starts bringing his face closer to hers. Sabrina this time doesn't try to resist. In fact, she closes her eyes, and the two slowly get closer until they finally kiss, just like one of those long, drawn-out movie kisses. While the two are kissing there, someone is watching the scene. It's Sandy, hidden behind a bush. She was going to eat at the 2003 restaurant when she saw the guys surrounding Sabrina, and she was the one who called Howard for help. Well, at least now she understands why Sabrina seemed pissed off when she was with Howard. Meanwhile, the two continue kissing passionately. Things start to heat up between them, and the protagonist already starts to put his wandering hand inside her shirt. But Sabrina quickly pulls his hand away and says to take it easy because they're in a public place. He asks if she's inviting him to her house then. She tells him to be serious, but he says that, well, they did everything in the dream. Then she says, 3 months. He thinks, what do you mean? And she says that if he really wants to be with her, they'll have to wait 3 months to do that thing he's thinking of. Men are all the same. They don't value what didn't take much effort to get. Howard, before accepting her terms, asks if that means in the future she'll agree to marry him. But Sabrina says it's too early for that. Who knows what might happen? The truth is, she's too proud to show that she liked what he said. So, into the night, the two arrive at the 2003 restaurant, which had been closed for some time, but since Howard is the owner, he can enter anytime he wants, right? Sabrina seems to be having fun with the idea. Howard finishes unlocking and tells her to come in and make herself comfortable, and she says she's starving. The protag says he'll cook something special for her then. So there he is, cooking his special noodle dish for his waifu. He prepares the dough and then cuts the ingredients. A little later, he puts the ready noodles in the pot, and with a few more minutes of preparation, a special ramen from the 2003 restaurant made especially for Sabrina is ready. The utensils, by the way, are brand new, never used. He pulls out the chair for her to sit, saying that the chairs are cleaned every day. Sabrina is impressed with all the care he takes in this restaurant. Did his ex-girlfriend teach him these things? She thinks she's only asking because in the dream she wasn't treated this way. Howard looks at her with a mocking face and asks if she's sure she wants to know the answer, but she tells him to forget it. She was just kidding. Then she starts eating the famous noodles from the 2003 restaurant. Howard, who had been just watching her, says she's really wonderful. Sabrina gets embarrassed and tells him to stop saying those things or she'll never speak to him again. And Howard tells her not to be mad. He's kidding too. She asks if what he said to her earlier was real, and he says yes, he really meant it. Then he takes her hand and asks, this time officially looking her in the eyes, if she wants to be his girlfriend. Sabrina stares at him without saying anything, trying to understand if he's being serious. Howard asks again, looking her in the eyes, if she wants to be his girlfriend. She says he doesn't seem serious, so he says if she wants, he can go to her office and declare his love for her in front of everyone. But Sabrina says they are all gossips. She doesn't want to hear them gossiping about him. Howard says he knows they will say he's just a useless toy being used and exploiting her money, but deep down they are just jealous of him. Dating a girl like her is worth hearing such comments. Sabrina says he's different from before. He asks, different how? And she says now he has a sharp tongue. He asks if she doesn't like it, but she asks if he changed so much because of his ex-girlfriend. Howard feels awkward with the question and just deflects, telling her to put some vinegar on her pasta. It tastes really good. When she reaches for it, he quickly pulls his hand away and says, actually, it's better not to, because she's already too vinegared. This part here the translators couldn't find the right term in Chinese, but he basically made a joke at her expense, one of those couples jokes and such. So Sabrina says she's satisfied. The pasta was delicious. Howard says if she really liked it, she can come visit him every day. He'll serve her all kinds of pasta they make there. Sabrina feels a bit embarrassed and stands up, grabs her jacket and says she better go. The protagonist, not understanding why this sudden change, says it's still early. It's only 8 in the morning just. But Sabrina just turns to him and says his name. He says, what is it? And she asks if he was serious about their relationship. He immediately hugs her and says yes. She asks if he could be more patient with her. He doesn't say anything, so she says he needs to promise not to treat her the way he did in the dream. He awkwardly says he's not a monk, right? He's a man with needs and all, while gently touching her arm. So So Sabrina asks him to give her just 3 months. That's all she asks. He needs to promise her. Howard has that oh boy expression, but deep down he understands she's afraid he's only with her for sex. So he says yes, he promises, and hugs her again. Sabrina seems satisfied with this. She smiles slightly, looking into his eyes, and then tells him to remember this and not go back on his word, while she tenderly kisses the corner of his mouth. Howard is all smitten because he had never seen a smile like that from her in the dream. For a smile like that, he could stay 3 months without any physical intimacy, without a problem. But at that moment, the TV that was on showing the Korean version of TMZ starts announcing they have bombshell revelations from the world of celebrities. Sunny Bai's secret boyfriend has been revealed, and that's how the chapter ends. The next chapter begins in a restaurant, but it's not our beloved restaurant 2003. It's actually a fancy restaurant where Howard, dressed in his new clothes bought especially for this date, meets Sabrina, who seems to like his new taste in clothes. He says that now that he's with her, how could he not care about his appearance? But she says she still hasn't agreed to be his girlfriend. Howard says, okay then, but as her almost boyfriend, he has to start dressing always on point. Sabrina tells him he's becoming more and more full of himself, and he, like a good simp, says that if she doesn't like it, he can change. She asks how, and he says in any way she prefers. Sabrina presses the steak on her plate with her fork and says, this steak is very tough, just like someone's temperament. Howard asks what she means, and she says he's very stubborn and petty. If she says anything he doesn't like, he gives her the cold shoulder for days. He immediately says she does the same, but Sabrina says it's different. He hurt her. It was his fault. Then Howard takes her plate with the steak and starts cutting it into pieces, while saying that yes, he can be a bit difficult to deal with sometimes. And then he hands her the cut steak back. She starts eating the meat, which actually seems almost raw, and says if he does that again, she'll ignore him again. Then he crosses his fingers like Sasuke Uchiha and says, that's the problem. Does she want him to be that Sigma guy who fought with wolves she met in the dream, or mold him to be the way she wants? Sabrina asks if he couldn't make some changes for her, and Howard thinks now that they've touched on this subject, they have to be honest with each other. He doesn't want to fight with her in the future, so he says he loves her and would like to change in ways that are better for her, but she needs to understand that the values he believes in shape who he is, and that he can never change. She's left speechless by his philosophy lesson until she asks, what if she insists? Howard replies that some people describe having a relationship as fighting a battle, which ends with both sides reaching a stalemate, or one conquering and enslaving the other. When that happens, love disappears. And then Sabrina says, wait, but you just said you would hold that sharp tongue of yours for me. And the protag thinks, oops, I messed up. Then he says that part of his personality was born with him, like the root of a plant. If the root is pulled out, the plant dies. He wouldn't be himself if that part of his personality changed. However, some parts aren't so important. They're like the leaves of a plant, which can be pruned. And sometimes, some small changes and adjustments can make everything more comfortable for everyone. Sabrina asks if he's saying the Sigma red pill part of his personality is like the root of the plant, which can't be changed, while the sharp tongue is like a leaf he's willing to prune. And Howard says, yes, exactly. At that moment, someone takes a picture of the two of them eating together in an expensive restaurant and posts it in a WhatsApp group. The people in the group start gossiping that he just broke up with a very hot woman, and now he's with another very hot woman? What a lucky guy. Another calls him scum and so on, until the person who posted the photo says they're going to say hi to him and sends a winking face. The person with the kitty profile picture tells him to go ruin his date because he's probably breaking the heart of another good innocent woman. By coincidence, Sabrina is saying she hates unfaithful guys who don't take relationships seriously and break up for any reason, and the protagonist immediately gets the hint she's still bothered because of his ex, and Sabrina neither confirms nor denies. He says what happened in the past is in the past. Now the only person he wants to be with is her, but Sabrina doesn't seem to be very okay with that. Apparently her problem with his ex-girlfriend isn't going to just disappear. And to make things worse for our dear Howard, a random person suddenly shows up saying, hey Howard, what's up brother? What are you doing here? They both turn and see a guy in a suit with perfectly trimmed hair, saying it's been a long time. The last time they saw each other was at their buddy Samuel's wedding. Memories of Sharon instantly pop into Howard's head. The guy, maliciously, already asks, wait, where's that hot girlfriend of yours? Why isn't she here with you? That girl was really cool and very pretty. Sabrina immediately wonders what's up with this guy. The guy approaches Howard saying he's a dirty dog. Can't he introduce some hot chicks to his friends too? Sabrina is furious, staring at the guy directly, and Howard is also pissed, wondering what's up with this guy. Then she gets up in one swift movement and starts to leave. The guy is satisfied that his trick worked. Howard gets up to go after Sabrina before she really leaves, but the guy grabs him by the shoulder and says, "Wow, who's that chick? She's really something, huh?" With a quick move, Howard twists the guy's arm effortlessly, almost like twisting a child's arm. But at that moment, Sabrina starts to come back. She sits back down in the chair and stays there as if nothing had happened, while the guy is writhing in pain. Howard lets go of the guy's arm and looks at her, who says, "What? I just went to pay the bill." The protag, who thought she had gotten mad and left, just says, "Oh, haha, but you could have let me pay the bill." She says it wasn't too expensive, but if he wants to be a gentleman and pay the bill, he can take her to the movies and pay for the tickets. And he says, "Okay, deal then." Sabrina takes him by the arm and they start to leave. Then she looks back and tells the guy that she's his girlfriend now, and asks if he has no other business to attend to excuse them, as they have other things to do. And the guy stays there saying, Sure, my bad." So a while later, arriving at the cinema, they walk like a couple arm in arm. Howard is all happy because Sabrina admitted in front of someone else that she's his girlfriend. She gets close to his ear and whispers his name softly, then asks if he took her to meet his parents. He thinks, "Oh man, I thought this ex-girlfriend thing was in the past, but apparently," and then says, "No, never." Sabrina says, "Okay, that's good." So there they are at the cinema. They bought tickets to see the Barbie movie that's still playing, and everyone's talking about. Howard gets a little annoyed with the never-ending commercial before the movie. It's a juice brand commercial, but what's really bothering him is that the girl in the commercial is, guess who? Sunny, the young girl who was with him in the last game in the dream world, the one who's part of the Hot Dolls. He didn't expect to see a commercial with her even at the cinema. Behind them, two girls were talking about the latest gossip that the secret boyfriend of this actress, Sunny Bai, was revealed. The two girls are watching her interview and commenting that since Sunny participated in Korea's Got Talent and did well, her popularity has skyrocketed. But she decided to confess her feelings for someone right at the peak of her career. Why would she do that? And then in the interview, Sunny is telling the reporter that her crush prefers older women, so she hopes to be sophisticated enough for him. The reporter asks if she can say who that person is, and at that moment Howard freezes, thinking that if she says his name, it's all over. Sabrina notices that something is wrong with him and asks what's up. He's pale, but he says he's fine. Then he hears when Sunny tells the reporter that she prefers to keep his identity a secret. He's not a show business person, and she wouldn't want his life to be exposed. The two girls are disappointed because they thought she was going to declare her love for her crush on national television. But Sunny continues talking to the reporter. She says that she only agreed to give this interview today simply because she wanted to say one thing to this man. Then she says, "Can we meet again? I don't want to live my life without you." And then she reveals a WhatsApp account she created with the message, "Add this number and send me a message. I'll be waiting for you." And man, she gave out her WhatsApp on national television. Imagine how many people are going to send her messages or even nudes. Sabrina is fine watching the Barbie movie while Howard is there all frozen thinking, damn dream game. He wouldn't be in this situation if it weren't for this stupid buggy system bringing random people into the game. Then the scene cuts to a luxurious apartment. We see Sunny lying on the bed, playing with her phone. She's waiting for a message from Howard. The girl really fell for our MC. She wonders if what she did really worked to get his attention. But one thing is certain. Minutes after the interview aired, tens of thousands of messages started pouring into her WhatsApp from all sorts of people. In the past, she hoped to gain more and more fans because that symbolized her success. But now she wishes there weren't so many people trying to reach her. Well, after watching the Barbie movie, Howard took Sabrina home. He knows that the right thing to do is just to chill and focus on his relationship with her. So he decided not to message Sunny because the two belong to different worlds. She's an artist, always in the spotlight, and he's just a regular guy wanting a normal life and blah blah blah. That's the spiel he always gives. Then a few days after this incident, Howard is there just fine working at the restaurant 2003 when the Korean Wendy Williams starts talking about the latest gossip. Sunny Bai apparently was put on ice by her agency after posting her WhatsApp number nationally to try to find the man she has a crush on. This news messes with the protagonist. He wonders if it's his fault, so he finally decides to message her. When he's about to send the message, he sees that she added a small questionnaire to filter the messages. And the first question is, when we met, what was happening? Well, for those who don't remember, it was in episode 15, Howard writes that she was being attacked by robot animals and he saved her. The second question is, when they were fleeing, who did they take with them? And Howard answers, the robot called Hill. The third question is, do you feel anything for me? When he reads this, Howard makes that face of, oh man. again. And then he remembers the conversation he was having with his cousin Kitty the day before, when he asked her opinion on a hypothetical situation where there were two men. The first is a man she made a promise to, and the second is a man who would give up everything for her. Which one would she choose? She thinks for a moment, then answers, the first one. The reason is simple. The second man would lose everything to be with her. She finds it impressive someone would do that for her, but she knows her life with him would be crap because she'd always be reminded that she owes him a lot. Not to mention the guy would be broke, unable to buy anything for her or take her out. Why would she be with him? Howard says, okay, so let's change the question a bit. Let's say you're a man caught between two women in the same situation. Which one would you choose? And Kitty, without even thinking much, says, both. Because hey, one of them already gave up everything for him. Her life is already messed up. If he's gonna be a jerk, then might as well be a real jerk. Just go for both. And hey, I agreed with Kitty on that, but it was just me. Because Howard sighs, not knowing what to do. He stares at the screen of his cell phone, at the third question of the questionnaire, then starts typing, and at that moment we see the young girl at the window waiting for the protag's answer. Her coach appears saying she cooked porridge for her and she needs to eat or she'll get sick. But Sunny just asks how much longer she'll be kept in this place. Apparently a certain Mr. Chin, the manager of the agency she was part of, decided to keep Sunny in a hotel room until the dust settles. He's a businessman, and as such, he didn't like her attitude one bit. A lot of money was lost in this teenage prank, so he sent her to a foreign country under the pretext of participating in a TV program, and took away her cell phone and passport. He also instructed that she not be allowed to leave the room or use someone else's phone. In other words, she's in a foreign country, stuck in a hotel room unable to do anything. Being an idol isn't easy, folks. But our dear Sunny couldn't care less about all this. All she's thinking about is whether Howard will message her on WhatsApp while she can't reply, and because of that, she'll miss the chance to meet him. And well, that's how the chapter ends. The next chapter starts with her coach breaking down the door, saying that Mr. Quinn, the guy who's keeping her locked up there, got into some serious trouble. Yesterday, videos of him in bed with the wife of one of the most powerful guys in this industry leaked, so the dude's marked for death. After that video leaked, Mr. Quinn hightailed it and disappeared. The agency immediately put someone else as manager in his place. That means Sunny was free now. The only thing they need to do as soon as they arrive is schedule a press conference to clear her name with the media before it's too late. The first thing Sunny asks is if she can have her phone back. The coach remains silent for a while until she asks if Sunny's going to try to contact that guy again. And Sunny says yes. She doesn't care. The coach just says, okay, but don't forget to pack your things so we don't get delayed. So Sunny checks the new messages, but one of them made her start trembling all over and her heart race instantly. She sees Howard's responses to her questionnaire. It was him. It had to be him. So she gets to the last response, to the question if he ever felt anything for her, and it's like a bucket of cold water. His response was, Sunny, please, think of me as a dead man. Well, it wasn't the answer she wanted, but at least it's him. Howard responded to her. Sometime later, we see our protag on his phone, lost in thought. He's thinking that whichever one he chooses, the other will be devastated. But if he chooses both, the three of them will end up badly when the truth comes out. But anyway, Sunny's contact was already saved. Suddenly, her phone starts vibrating. Howard had sent her a message. The message said, Sunny, you're so silly. She starts to cry when she reads his message, so she replies that she thought she'd never see him again. Howard is thinking about the fact that when he met her, she was a delicate little girl, but one who always accepted challenges. She matured quickly and even saved his life once. Sunny is a good girl, but still, she's a celebrity. Plus, she's much younger than him. The truth is, Howard never thought about having a relationship with her. She asks him for just a moment. Howard thought he'd be all hesitant and nervous when he met Sunny again, but in reality, he's quite calm and relaxed. About 10 minutes later, the protagonist receives a video call from Sunny. He hesitates a bit, but then accepts. And there she was, more beautiful than ever. All sorts of feelings are swirling in Howard's heart at this moment. There are many things he would like to say to her, but in the end, the only thing that comes out of his mouth is that she seems to have lost weight. And then tears start to fall. Sunny collapses and starts crying copiously when she sees Howard. She speaks with a voice of crying that the makeup she put on is all messed messed up, but he tells her not to worry about it. He's seen her without makeup. When the two were fleeing danger in the game, they were both dirty and torn. Sunny cries with sobs at the memories. The two talked for hours, from what happened in the dream game to the difficulties of work, about the invasion of Russia in Ukraine, the possible Third World War, and so on. Until at one point, Sunny said she loved him, so Howard needed to give an appropriate response. He said, "Sorry, Sunny, I have a girlfriend now, and I love her very much. She says she knows, but still would like to see him in person. Couldn't they meet?" Howard replies that there's no reason for them to meet. Besides, he's sure there must be many guys in love with her. She has many options. Sunny is very popular now. When she returned to Korea, a bunch of journalists and paparazzi were waiting for her, and they will certainly be like vultures in her life, waiting for any gossip about her love story. He can't risk meeting her in person. It's too risky. The chance of a paparazzi finding out and exposing his life is too big. Sabrina already has a problem with his ex-girlfriend. Imagine how pissed she would be if something like this happened, even if he explains to her that Sunny and he have a special kind of friendship. He has a very big secret in his life, which is this dream game. If he became famous for being a celebrity's affair, anything he did would be observed and examined by the public. He would appear on TMZ, Entertainment Tonight, and all kinds of gossip shows that thrive on this kind of trash content. He certainly doesn't want his life to become that. Sunny is disappointed when he refuses to meet her, and even Howard is kind of disappointed to have to do this, because, you know, it's not easy to turn down a rich and famous hottie like her. But that's it. Going out with someone other than Sabrina is out of the question, but he's open to making friends, right? And well, this way, some days go by, my friends. Sunny held a press conference to end the rumors that she had been imprisoned and such. In fact, she was just sick and decided to take some time to recover. That was it. As for Howard, he was going with Sabrina to visit his relatives, because his cousin's son was celebrating 30 days of life, and they wanted to gather everyone. To avoid unnecessary attention, Sabrina decided to drive a slightly less luxurious car, and Howard finds it funny that her less luxurious car is still a hell of a car. His mom is going to be crazy when she sees the amazing girlfriend he has. She opens the trunk and shows some little gifts she's taking to his family. From what he said about his relatives, there must be about 15 people in the family. But if you count the other uncles, the uncles' wives, and the nieces and nephews and everyone, well, let's just say she's taking a little more than 50 gifts. Howard thinks, Jesus Christ. That explains why in the last 2 days she kept asking him about his relatives. Even the clothes he's wearing were bought by her. She bought a new suit, pants, wallet, and even a brand name watch. She says she arranged for her cousin Kitty to ride with them in the car, and that she should be arriving soon. Some time passes, and Kitty arrives, and she's already impressed with the little gift Sabrina bought for her. It was simply a state-of-the-art iPad. Howard says she didn't have to buy something so expensive for the girl, but Sabrina says she hopes she likes it. And damn, of course she liked it. And she starts talking about how cool Sabrina is, says she's going to love this trip, and then starts talking about the relatives, who each one is, and blah blah blah. And really, Sabrina was warmly received by Howard's family. His aunt already asks if she's hungry after a long trip, and is impressed with the amount of gifts. They go in, and Sabrina gets to know the family. She meets Howard's uncle, also known as Kitty's father, who is impressed that she's the vice manager of a giant company being so young. And Kitty soon makes a point of reinforcing that she's awesome, that when she grows up, she'll be just like her. Sabrina is going to explore the rest of the house, and at that moment, Kitty's father asks if she comes from a rich and influential family. Howard confirms, but mentions not to pry too much into it. He then expresses that even though they are poor, they have their pride. Sabrina brought so many gifts for them, showing she's a generous woman, but no matter how good their relationship is, he can't use her money as his own. Howard acknowledges this, but then the uncle brings up their family's huge debt, expressing a desire to buy him a gift when they get married, but acknowledging the financial struggle. Howard reveals he now owns a noodle restaurant and earns a considerable income, enough to pay off the family debt. He's determined to work hard, and in a few years, everything will be sorted. As the evening progresses, Howard and Sabrina find themselves in the guest room. Sabrina wonders if his relatives liked the gifts she brought, but Howard reassures her that they did, although they're accustomed to a simpler life and may feel uneasy about her spending so much. She regrets not considering this earlier, worried they might think poorly of her. Howard playfully taps her nose, telling her not to worry. They were impressed by her beauty and kind personality, and are concerned she might leave him. Sabrina asks what if they disapprove of their relationship, but Howard lifts her chin, assuring her they won't. He promises that nothing will come between them, no matter what. Sabrina jokes about Howard being sweaty and suggests suggests he take a shower. He playfully suggests they could shower together, but she declines, mindful of his relatives in the house. He suggests being a bit naughty when they're not around, but she tells him to stop talking nonsense. Later, after both have showered, Sabrina is ready for bed. She warns Howard to behave, to which he responds playfully, saying he wouldn't have thought of anything if she hadn't mentioned it. Sabrina crosses her arms like a helpless girl, stating he can't do anything sexual with her, not here and not now. Howard finds it amusing, feeling she's teasing him. He agrees to behave, and they lie down together holding hands. Sabrina remarks how much Howard has changed since they met in the dream, sometimes wondering if he's still the same Sigma Red Pill who hunted wild wolves. He notes her changes too. She used to be as proud as a princess, wouldn't even glance at the last man on Earth. But now she's visiting his family and buying gifts, worrying about impressing her in-laws, not complaining despite the modest accommodations. Sabrina closes her eyes and smiles, acknowledging that they both have changed. And thus, my friends, today's chapter comes to an end. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for the continuation of the story. Until the next video, folks, take care.